You see that little dot on the screen? Yep, that's me. I'm currently alone in the plane by myself, attempting my first ever solo landing in a little Cessna we like to call 1 Echo Romeo. Here's what she looks like on the ground, and here's a nice shot of the dash. Airplanes have a lot of cool gauges and radios. This is Whiteman Airport in Pacoima, California, and this is where I've been taking flight lessons for the past year. Here's my instructor Ethan, and he is really cool. He's working his way to become an airline pilot, and one of the ways that you can do that is by accumulating flight hours as an instructor. So just to preface this, I actually had about 75 hours of flight training with Ethan at this time, but at some point you have to start flying by yourself, and that time had come for me. So the first time you go up by yourself, you just fly a traffic pattern around the airport, which is basically a big rectangular loop, and you do it 3 times. So I have some photos and some footage and some audio recordings of the event, and I'll do some recreations in Flight Sim as well to show you exactly what it was like. So here's me at the fuel pits ready to go. I'm going to ask permission to get over to the runway.
Whiteman Tower, Cessna 501 Echo Romeo is at the fuel pits ready to taxi to active runway for Houston Solo.
Cessna 501 Echo Romeo, taxi runway 12 via Alpha.
Taxi runway 12 via Alpha, 1 Echo Romeo.
So when you're on the ground, you're actually steering with your feet, and you follow these little yellow lines to get around the airport. So I had been waiting for this day for months, and I'd practiced so much, so I wasn't even nervous. I just wanted to get in the air. Now, I'm holding short of the runway here, and I call the tower again.
Whiteman Tower, Cessna 1 Echo Romeo is holding short runway 12 at Alpha, request to left close traffic.
Cessna 1 Echo Romeo, runway 12, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, runway 12, 1 Echo Romeo.
And just to translate, I just said that I was ready, and I told him where I was and that I wanted to do a left loop around the airport, and then he cleared me for takeoff. So now I turn on all the lights, set the mixture to rich, double check the flaps and trim are set for takeoff, and pull onto the runway. So as soon as you engage the throttle, the plane starts pulling to the left because of the way the propeller is rotating. So you have to hold down the rudder with your right foot in order to counteract that. It takes the perfect amount of footwork to keep the plane centered as you're taking off. And you're also getting blown around by the wind, so it's really easy to get knocked off course here. Now, my instructor is the one taking these videos, and he had a smile on his face so big that you could even see it in the air. Right around here is when I started my first turn. These buildings here, we call them the 4 stacks. I take the plane up to 1,000 feet off the ground. That's the altitude you would normally fly around the airport. And this airport is actually underneath the Burbank Class C airspace. So if you fly too high, you could clip into the area where the big jets fly, which would be very bad. It's really cool up here. You can see everything. Over there is the Hansen Dam, and you can see all the way up to the mountains to the Newhall Pass, which is where the 5 freeway leaves LA. Underneath me is Glen Oaks, and I use this road as a guide to fly along because it runs parallel to the runway. This section is called the downwind, and I have this video that I took a few months ago when my instructor was flying, just to show you exactly what it looks like up there. Once I reach this point, I call the tower and have a little exchange so that he can clear me for landing.
Whiteman Tower, 1 Echo Romeo is downwind of beam.
Cessna 1 Echo Romeo, runway 12, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 12, 1 Echo Romeo.
Okay, so now I'm looking out the right window, and I'm trying to gauge when I'm aligned with the runway numbers. As soon as that happens, I can start descending. So the way you descend in a plane is to reduce power, and if you want to go slow, you add in flaps, which are these movable parts on the wings. And here is where I usually turn. This is the 118 freeway. I can add in more flaps and slow down some more. And when I'm close to this Best Buy, I'll turn towards the runway and point straight at those big numbers. Airports have these super helpful lights on the sides called PAPIs, and if you see one red and one white, then you know you're at the perfect height, and you're not going to fall short or hit some trees or something. So now we go back to the dot. I'm about a mile away at this point, and I'm just trying to keep the plane centered up with the runway. And I'm also trying to slow down to 65 knots. If you go any faster, then your plane's going to have too much energy, and you're just going to bounce on the runway, which would be very bad. As soon as I fly over the gate, I cut the power and you can see the prop starting to slow down. And then as I get closer to the runway, I pitch back a little bit and I try to fly parallel to the runway. The plane's starting to sink, so I'm pulling back a little bit to tease out the speed. That way I'll hit the ground nice and slow. I let the main gear touch down first and then the nose. You can't really see it here, but I'm braking and slowing down with my feet now. And you can see here I'm pulling the elevator up to add a bit more drag to the plane. That way it slows down even more. And then I turn off the runway onto the taxiway, and boom, first solo complete. Now, I'm still a ways away from getting that pilot's license, but I'm going to be doing a lot more solo work from here on out. I still need a minimum of 10 hours of solo time, and that includes going to other airports and practicing maneuvers before I can take that final test. So, I will have some updates for you guys in a few months. Thanks for watching.